Welcome one and all to Last Stop Penn Station podcast featuring Carrie Silken and Ian Riccaboni. They dive deep into Carrie's wealth of stories, and no subject is off limits. From the world of wrestling to his ticket agency, growing up in New Jersey, drug-fueled underground days, hustling in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and endless days and nights in New York City, every story is worth telling.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting edition of Last Stop Penn Station. I'm Ian Riccaboni, joined by the guest of honor, Carrie Silken. Carrie, we're laughing already because why not? It's beautiful Friday, and we're honoring somebody today.
Yes, we're going to honor a lady who goes under a number of different names. I knew her as Momma Pretzel, and she's also been called Natasha, but her real name is Samira, and was a staple of the New York ticket scalping scene up until till Broadway closed and everything closed. But I was surprised. I thought we were going too intellectual. The last thing I consider myself is an intellectual, but. We went a little sideways. Do we go sideways, or we went straight down the road?
We're talking books, which is weird. We're talking about books and documentaries and learning.
Baseball, football, swimming in a tank. When you get up, you get a crank. Simus. You got to teach that to Zach.
Yeah. Oh, he loves it. He loves rhymes.
Yeah. You got to teach it to Zach. I taught that to my god kids, and I probably made AJ's kid Dakota say that when he was a little kid.
We haven't talked enough about Hogboy. We didn't even give the great restaurant in Wind Creek a plug. I'm assuming they're still doing takeout, right? At the very least.
They're right down the street.
Yeah. Right down the street here.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were in Wind Creek.
No.
Who's our friend down at Wind Creek?
What's Wind Creek? What Wind Creek?
It used to be the Sands. The restaurant down there.
Oh, the Chopsticks.
Yeah.
Well, that's like, a conglomerate. Sushi Joe, New Imperial.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's right down the street here.
In beautiful Easton, Pennsylvania.
Yes, with my wonderful god kids, Matthew and Jonathan. They're so talented. They're great musicians, great piano players. Sandy Sushi she's the only Asian Jewish mother.
Oh.
Pushing them, that's the way.
Right.
I hate to make these generalizations, but culturally, that's how they're raised.
Well, and if you marry a Jewish woman, it's assumed in the Jewish religion that you will raise your children Jewish as well.
Right.
So that's an interesting.
Well, the Jewish mother is that she's bugging the kids. She's bugging the kids.
I think that's all moms at this point.
Right. She's pushing the kids. I warned Sushi Sandy a few times. The kids are going to revolt to that. She thinks they're never going to be 18-year-olds. So 17-year-olds.
I mean, they got to be, 14, 15 by now?
Jonathan's 15.
Wow.
Matthew's 13. They're becoming young men, and they're good guys. And it was nice. It was nice getting some feedback last week on our various subject matter,
including Ring of Honor.
Right now,
we're a week away from Final Battle. It's crazy. I can't believe that's already here. We saw Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. They were resuming their deal with Vincent and Bateman. That's turned into a blood feud. We saw John Walters return, but Tracy Williams getting a big victory there. A lot of things have been announced coming up to Final Battle, including, looks like my broadcast partner Quinn's going to step into the ring.
Yeah, that's going to be wild.
Yeah. She might be the strongest person in Ring of Honor, which is something she keeps hidden under those bow ties.
I keep forgetting that she's trained.
Yeah, and I think Angelina Love forgot that too, so it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Well, the final battle is the 18th.
The 18th, Friday the 18th. Yeah.
It's going to be on pay-per-view. It's going to be on Fight TV.
And Honor Club as well. All Honor Club members get it this year, which is
excellent. That's a nice holiday present.
Yeah. So really looking forward to that. Just a week away. I can't believe it's already that time of year.
Yeah, here it comes. I don't know. Everybody is trying to make the best of these crazy times. With the you're lucky that you have young children.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that Christmas is great for little kids, or maybe if you're really religious and families. But due to what's going on now, everything is so altered. So it's nice that you have Zach and Nora at home and we're at an age where they waiting for Santa Claus to drag his fat ass down the tree.
Whenever I think of Santa now, I think of Uncle Gunny. If you put a wig on him, it might look like the great Saint Nick. And it is exciting that we drive, with COVID, we're trying to stay away from everybody. We're trying to be cautious. We drive down the street, though. We just load the kids up. Oh, Christmas house. Ooh, reindeer. Ooh, mama. Nora, her thing is, ooh, mama, lights. Ooh, mama, snowman. Ooh, mama, Santa. And she's almost 2 and just pointing out.
Well, that's awesome.
Things.
And they're the perfect age. Are you going to take them to see Santa Claus through a glass or something?
I don't know. We haven't thought about that yet. We're gonna go see the lights in the Parkway, which is a very nice thing they do in Allentown, where they even before COVID, you load up a car. You drive through the Parkway, Lehigh Parkway, and you see the big Christmas lights. AJ's familiar, does not look like a fan.
Well, my good friend Matthew, who worked with me for 20 years plus, he is a Christmas light freak.
Oh, okay.
And he lives in Bethlehem, and he doesn't mind. He wants me to tell. And I think it's, I might get the exact, it's on Pine Top Trail.
Okay.
If you find Pine Top Trail right off of, what is it, AJ, 191? Yeah. Right. Matthew's house is like ridiculous. And not only does Matthew do his own house, he likes to go and do other people's houses. So when you come here next week for the podcast, I'm going to put my ass on the line because I owe you an apology, which I'll be coming to in a moment.
Wow!
But I'm going to get it. Maybe I'm putting my ass on the line that you're going to see a beautiful cheese basket. And, no, you're going to see some beautiful lights. And if you're wondering. These references, Uncle, what is this? Uncle Gunny.
Yeah,
what are you talking about with the cheese basket? Well, subscribe to Last Stop Penn Station.
We got the archives. We got 50.
Right, and you can hear these stories about these beloved characters, strange characters from a different era, and so Matthew usually does the lights at my house. I don't ask him to do it, but they look really cool when he puts them up. So maybe I'll get in the spirit a little better.
There you go. I think you're always plenty in the spirit. You always have nice lights out. You have classy lights when you put the lights out.
That's thanks to Matthew.
Yeah. You don't overdo it. It's a nice, classy display to celebrate. We just usually do the shrubs, and we have a tree out front. And I don't get on the roof. I don't staple them in like Clark Griswold. So I know that wouldn't end well. You've seen me climb the top rope. I can't. It's 6 feet up. Imagine me on a 20-foot ladder trying to staple the house.
Well, I don't know if our producer AJ is going to have any lights up. We might have might have a reef in front of the house on the door or something. Maybe not. But everybody, the holidays are upon us. So. Celebrate as you will.
You said an apology though, and we contacted Matt Taven about this from last week as well, but
I apologize, Ian.
No,
Here I am. One of the things I've held to my bosom for years of my expertise on the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
But what was that term you used?
The Mandela Effect. I don't believe in the Berenstein Bears one. I don't believe in the Star Wars Luke, I am your father one. I see these as mistakes. I see these as people just slightly misremembering, forgetting a small detail. This one, though, I'm with you. I had this moment, too, where I thought there was 4 people in the Cadillac, or whatever car it was, that was taking the president, his wife, and the governor of Texas, and the driver.
And the governor's wife.
Yep.
That's how it turned out. And I was thinking, and you could listen to last week's, I thought that the governor was sitting next to the guy who was driving.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
So I apologize. We won't get into the magic bullet that had 7 wounds.
Oh, my goodness.
And it still was pristine, but that's another story. But I'm sorry, you're right. There were 6 people. So
it's wild. Look up the Mandela Effect. Look up the cornucopia. If you didn't do it last week, type in Fruit of the Loom cornucopia ? And you'll see it's crazy. I remember there's a cornucopia. Apparently there was never a cornucopia.
Well, I'll be checking for that also.
Speaking of food, what's fruit a word? Momma Pretzel. And this is a food-based lady, but we know that she's, I mean, we joke, but you've spoken in such high regard. Now, was she kind of a mentor? We know that.
No. She was around when I returned from New Orleans.
86, right?
Yes, and I started doing tickets, working with Freddie the Weeper on a full-time basis at all these events, primarily at the Garden, and we would go out sometimes to Nassau Coliseum or Yankee Stadium or Shea Stadium, and once in a while the Beacon Theater or the old Palladium.
Palladium was still there through the later 80s, I
okay.
think.
And, wherever Freddie would have extra tickets for. So all the hustlers of that era, the ticket scalpers, the guys that worked, the people that worked the street, they were all guys. All ethnicity.
It's prude.
Help me.
Ethnicities.
All ethnicities. Whether it was the great Middle Eastern scalpers like the camel.
Camel, right?
Whether it was the great baby dumplings who hailed from New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Whether it was some of the great.
The locals, the Bernie brothers.
The Bernie brothers, the Sabu brothers, and then the old guard, Silent Sidney, Lenny the Mooch, Gene King, Jake.
All these guys have such colorful nicknames.
Well, Little Jake.
Okay.
All right, let me tell you. You know the last time I saw Little Jake?
No.
It was at the Phillipsburg Mall.
Wow.
I don't know what the fuck.
Was Clover still there?
Little Jake was a guy who wore a dungaree jacket, and his claim. These aforementioned, not Freddie, because Freddie didn't handle his money right, but Gene King, Lenny the Mooch, Sidney, a guy named Napkin. You know why they called him Napkin?
No.
Because he was and he had money.
Yeah.
He's still around. I still talk to him occasionally. But if goes into a diner or somewhere, he can take some napkins, doesn't buy any, or take some packets of ketchup. Thus he had the name Napkin. But Little Jake, he wasn't a tough guy, but just as a backup, because at the time, in the 80s, in the mid 80s, there were always black scalpers, but there were these new kids that were coming in from the Bronx, And some of them, you just sort of had to be, you just have to be careful. You're on the street. You're hustling the street.
Right, you got cash.
And people would say to me, hey, Carrie, my local friends, aren't you worried about getting busted, at these shows? Like I did in New Orleans. And
right.
I haven't told the times I got busted in New York.
Oh, right.
I had a few, and my stock answer was, no, I'm not worried about the cops. I'm worried about the other guys.
Right.
So Jake had this light-skinned black guy who was not, he was almost like, picture Virgil.
Okay.
But minus 60 pounds.
I was going to say Virgil was put together, but
right.
It takes 60 pounds.
This guy would do anything Jake said. If Jake said, keep these other guys, like he's trying to make a sale. So people would like swarm.
So
let's say you were at a Knicks, Milwaukee Bucks have a bad team, and it's a Tuesday night in November. It's not opening day.
Yeah.
And you're trying to make a sale. And once one of the scalpers would see that you had a customer, the other scalpers, some of the more aggressive ones, would run up. No, I got better seats.
Undersell.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jake had the great Perry, who was so smart. He really wasn't. He was so smart. His nickname was the Computer. So
you guys were so mean. You guys
weren't mean.
Everybody's got this diminutive nickname.
What's wrong with being called the Computer?
I mean, well, it's like, if you call it, obviously it's in jest, right?
It wasn't jest. And Perry was quiet as a mouse. But Jake used to just like have someone watching his back. Well, this brings us to Natasha.
Right.
There was only one female ticket hustler. And it was I dubbed her Natasha. Mm-hmm. Other guys used to call her Mama.
Okay.
Some guys called her Momma Pretzel. Do you know? Do you know how the original Momma Pretzel name was derived?
I mean, they sell those pretzels at the carts.
You're very warm.
Was she laundering the money through the pretzels, or was she?
She was a pretzel vendor.
Oh, okay.
And she would be selling pretzels outside, like on 49th and 6th Avenue.
That's a good spot.
By Radio City.
Yeah.
And I told the story a little bit about when I came back from New Orleans, I was hustling the Christmas show.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about the late 70s. She would see the guys making money. And then sometimes her pretzel cart would be on Broadway. This is in like the late 70s. Maybe Chorus Line was the show of the season, right? And she saw these guys making money. And many of our characters, the camel, and we've referenced Momma Pretzel before, they all sound like they came from Transylvania. Well, Momma Pretzel was actually... Oh, she was, the camel had some company. She was of Middle Eastern descent, not Jewish, some kind of Egypt, one of these countries, Middle East countries. So I have Momma Pretzel on I spoke to her weeks before the pandemic closed when I was going to 80's Town on a regular basis. Right. And I asked her about her origins, and she says, I was selling pretzels, and then my friend, John the Greek. I go, was he Greek? He goes, no. But they just call him John the Greek. I don't know. I think he Arab too. So John the Greek. So she morphed from the pretzels to going on the road. And she started hustling T-shirts, like Dustin later did. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the late 70s.
Wow.
She would only go on the tours where it would be like Van Halen in a stadium, or go to the what was that big festival they had in Philly? The
Live Aid.
Yeah, something like that. Or she'd wait for a Springsteen tour, so when she was doing the Stones, and I know we talked about this on the podcast, but that's all right. But we're going to tell it again. I said to Momma Pretzel, Natasha, I go, what's the most? So I said, so how did you get into the tickets? She's like, well, we were selling the shirts, right? But we see these guys running around, fake tickets.
Oh.
and they're making big money. I said, but the people get in. She goes, no. She goes, you know what they called the fake tickets? I think I've said this.
Yeah.
Blinkers.
Right.
Yeah. But so the specialty of the fake tickets was general admission concerts.
Because then the ushers couldn't tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is before the days of the barcodes.
Right.
And the scanners. So according to Momma Pretzel, this was certainly not her first time in that they were following the Stones tour around in the early 80s. And she was, she'd been in the ticket thing for a few years, but there was a particular show she couldn't remember. She said Houston. I said, was it the Astrodome? She said, I don't know. Maybe Dallas. It don't matter. But the guy has blinkers, right? There's thousands of buyers. Shows on a Saturday night. There's thousands of buyers. So the guy wants $20 a piece. Now these are for fake tickets,
right?
Which she knew.
Yeah.
I said, well, what about once again, what about the people not getting in? She goes, I won't sell that. I buy two from the guy and I send the Greek. Go see. So the Greek goes in and goes out.
Wow.
And so anyway, at this particular show, whether it was in Dallas, whether it was in Houston, wherever the hell it was, she claims she made $40,000 in one night. I don't know how the math would work on that.
2,000 tickets.
She got the tickets for less than 20.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys it was just paper.
Yeah.
And everyone got in. And
wow.
I was talking to get a little reference to her today. You never met the guy. AJ has, a good friend of ours, Spiro, who was a ticket scalper through my era. And he's been clean like 28 years now. He's very, and up until the pandemic, he still was working the half price line. Mm-hmm. And if I was stuck with tickets, whether it was frozen or good tickets, I could they'd give him to Spiro, he'll get something back for him. And he was reliable. But Spiro told me that I was asking, and he was on the road often, and they used to go to the Grateful Dead shows a lot because that was pretty much guaranteed to be a general admission event. And a lot of guys didn't care if the people got in or not.
Wow.
But Spiro says, listen, I was strung out at the time, I just had to do what I had to do. Most of the time they got in anyway. Mm-hmm. But Momma Pretzel was a woman of principle, and she, yet. And I saw this 9 months ago. If she had a Hamilton ticket that was a rear mezzanine row double Q, she had no problem telling the person it was third row center orchestra. They were going to get in. No doubt about it. They were going to get in. But anyway, so I'd be at the Garden with Freddie, whether it was a Ranger game, whether it was an Ozzy show, whether it was whatever the hell it was. And suddenly this woman would appear like a whirling dervish. And she was always smoking. She smoked Pall Mall, which are the that's like an old school... Right? She'd smoked Pall Mall, and she had hair. Her hair was like a giant Brillo. It was like a Brillo pad. Didn't have the greatest dental hygiene either, but she specialized. Now, this is when I was at the Garden. She didn't want to be there with 50 guys at a Ranger Ottawa game.
Yeah.
She didn't want to be there because guys would be distributed around the city. Let's say it was the summertime. You might have had, 86, 87. Oh, the Mets are playing the Dodgers, on a Saturday night game. That's a good ticket. But hey, at the same time, Elton John's at the Garden. Mm-hmm. So where do you want to? So guys would she might, with those two in mind, she'd be like, I go to Lincoln Center, Pavarotti playing.
Wow.
Nobody there.
Yeah.
Right? So she was smart.
Intelligent.
So she, whatever event she would be at, she would like hit and run.
Okay.
So when I would see her, she would rush. Let's say it was that Ozzy show in '87. She'd just like suddenly appear at like 7. It was 8:00 show.
Yeah.
But there'd be buyers. There was always opening acts. Mm-hmm. So people would be on the street. She would just like suddenly appear. And her when she got to know me a little, no matter when I saw her opening, if he wasn't near me, her opening line would be, "Where's Freddie?" Because she knew Freddie had the stash. But she would run amok. She had no fear. Hey, Lamb Chop.
Hey, Lamb.
And so let's tell a good story about her.
Before we get into that, I got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
Logistics. How do you know back then where people were playing? We talked about this when we talked about Jethro Tull, where you had the cheater book, you had the guidebook for the tour, but I mean there was no internet. There was the newspaper had the local acts, but that was usually only for that day. Did you ever? How far along did you plan ahead? I guess is the other part.
Well, I was primarily working New York, so between the Village Voice, and the Aquarian, and
which was referenced on Howard Stern last week, interestingly enough.
Well, that was Mike G was the music editor there for 15 years. So yeah, we knew where those were, but like the people that went on the road, that's a good question. Mm-hmm. They probably stole. They got the guys that were on the road, whether it was T-shirts or tickets. They just had inside info, or then they're doing drugs. Maybe they made friends with the roadies like I did, so they would get the information.
Got it. And then the other piece, if your Momma Pretzel, you got $40,000, what the hell do you do with it? Do you stuff it in a purse? Do you stuff, like, the banking wasn't like it is now. You can't just dump it in a Bank of America.
Her and John the Greek got the hell out of Texas, and were probably on their way to the first casino that they found. That was her problem. And I'm going to tell a little story. This was 1989, and by this time, since I knew her since '86, and I hadn't seen her for it's like I didn't see Ralph the Mummy because he was staying at the Big Nipple Theater for 8 days. But I hadn't seen Natasha, seemed like close to a couple months. And I was out, and she didn't do any drugs. She didn't drink, but she had one downfall. She had one weakness. And that was the track, the casino. So I'm walking down 8th Avenue, and I see her. I'm like, Natasha. She's like, hello. She goes, where's Freddie? We're not near any event. This is like 8th Avenue between 37th and 38th Street. There's prostitutes. She where's Freddie?
Oh my
goodness. She had this bizarre look in her face. I'm like, are you all right? I go, where you been? She goes, I went crazy.
Oh my goodness.
I go, you went crazy? I go, what happened? She goes, come on, we'll get a coffee. So we go into some Dunkin' Donuts. No, she didn't do the Murphy on
The
me.
Murphy, yeah. If you need to learn about the Murphy, go back and check that out.
So we go into a Dunkin' Donuts. And she did, see, back then you could smoke in the you could smoke everywhere.
Yeah.
And she had the ability. You've spent a lot of time in the city when that cold wind is blowing down Broadway.
Yeah.
When it's cold, when in the winter. She was a chain smoker. She never would have a lighter. She would always use matches.
Really?
And she was like a sailor. She could light one match in the Times Square. Like people are grabbing their hats, and the stars are flying. She'd light that cigarette in one shot, bang.
Wow.
So we go into the Dunkin' Donuts, and I go, "What do you mean you went crazy?" She goes, "I tell you this story." She goes, "Don't tell anybody." I'm like, "Yeah, all right. Well, what happened? It couldn't be that bad." She goes, I went, it's 1989. She goes, Phantom of Opera had been big. Nobody onto it yet. I make friends with the guard there. He let me hustle. One cop, and this is true because I knew this. I had dealings with this guy. There was a cop that patrolled Phantom still playing when it started. 44th there was this one cop. He had white hair. Now don't tell me this is mean. He went under the name, or he didn't go under the name. The guys called him. Look out! Here comes Snow White.
I'll allow it.
So she goes, "I just have to be careful about Snow White." I go, "Yeah, I know." He might have had like 44th and 45th. You know where Schubert Alley is?
Yeah.
Right. So he was just, but she became friends, and I later did too with the guy who was the security guy from Phantom. So if she had extra tickets, or if she was working Phantom, and Phantom was big, and there were buyers. And so anyway, so she says, "So I have a really good day. I caught a bus going to Phantom. I got 20 extra tickets from bus driver. Bus came from fucking Pittsburgh or somewhere out there. Only 20 people on bus, 50 people. Driver sell me tickets, $5 each."
Wow.
She goes, "I sell tickets, 100 a piece, 75 each, with a kiss." With a kiss. I go, "Were the seats good?" She goes, "All my seats good." I tell them third row sector. Well, these people wanted to get in.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I saw it in 2001 or 2002. It was still hot.
it still was hot.
Yeah.
So, and let's not forget when Pig-Faced Stanley and little Scotty the Baboon tried to sell that rotten stack of tickets to Billy at Union Tickets, Bully Ray's friend and my good friend. But anyway, so she had a big score. She goes, "I got like 5,000 in my pocket." So she goes, "I go down to diner. I knew this guy at diner, high roller at Atlantic City. I wasn't thinking about it. I'm in there around midnight. I have a coffee and a ham and cheese sandwich." And she goes, every guy that owns a diner's name is John. John said, he goes, "Hey, Mama, limo coming, 30 minutes, taking me to Trump Plaza. You want to go?" She's like, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "I'll get you your own room too." She's like, "Oh, okay." And then I think, oh shit, Steel Wheels, Rolling Stones. Now, after the Stones had played the Summer '89 tour, which was in the stadiums, they did like 4 shows in Atlantic City at Convention Hall.
Oh, wow.
And I was still on the street level at the time. It turned out not to be a good ticket. And it made no sense because the summer concerts, that was the Camel. Remember the Camel with ZZ Top?
Right.
It was huge. But but that's not the story. The story is, so she goes, "Limo come. I sleep. We get to Atlantic City, maybe 4 or 5 in the morning. John all hooked up. He get 2 room, right? He not messing around. So he gives me a room key. I go right to blackjack table. I got 5,000 on me.
Oh.
So she's playing, and she's playing, and she's playing. And she goes, I'm up, I'm down. I go, well, how, and I didn't really have a good, I knew Freddie. Freddie was a horse player, and I wasn't, at that stage, I was so wrapped up in the drugs, I didn't going to dedicate any money to gambling.
Yeah.
But I understood it. I go, like, how much a hand were you playing? She goes, oh, I start small, like 100 a hand.
Whoa.
Right.
In 89, no less.
Right.
That's probably
so she's up, she's
now.
down, she's up, she's down. And she goes, now, I look at my watch. I go, oh, shit. It's like 12:20 in the afternoon.
What?
And she only has $200 chips left.
Oh my God. 8 hours.
8 hours, and she goes, and at one point I'm up 10,000. You think I stop and go upstairs? What's fucking wrong with me? I need my head examined, right? You think maybe I go get something to eat and go rest? No, I just keep playing. I went crazy. She says, so now I'm at table. I've got 200 left. So she goes, there's 4 people at table. And one of them, the guy, I don't know, he's Japanese, Chinese, I don't know, some kind of Asian guy. He's sitting at table. So I'm thinking, what the fuck I do? I'm like, oh, yeah, I got the best seats. She's talking, that's a game. She's like, I can get the best seats, 3rd row center for the Rolling Stones. So Japanese guy goes, oh, you can get Rolling Stones tickets? She goes, only the best. He's like, how much would they be? And she goes, do you want to sit good? You want to sit like king right in front? You want to sit with Mick Jagger, look at Mick Jagger's crotch? He's like, yeah. So he goes, how many seats you need? He goes, I need 4 seats, me and my family. She goes, you want the best, right? I get you crap, $500. And he goes, no, I want good seats. She goes, I get you the best, $1,500 a ticket. Now, she had no tickets.
Right.
She wasn't expecting the guy to give her money. She knew the way of the world. Mm-hmm. She goes, she goes, you need 4 seats, right? The best. The guy goes, yeah. He goes, I get them. She goes, the guy had stacks. Yeah. He was playing, right? And so she runs out on the boardwalk. And she goes, I run it. Now, the New York Hustlers and the Philly Hustlers, I think there was a show the night before. They were down there already. And they're out there early. And she runs into Big Chip. I knew Big Chip. He was a New York street guy. He sort of looked like, put like an extra 100 pounds on Mr. Hughes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right?
Big guy.
Big dude.
Yeah.
And she runs out. She sees Chip. She says, Chip, what you got? Chip goes, I just got some uppers. She's like, give me 4. Oh. He goes, what do you need for them? And the tickets at the time, I think since it was the Stones at, in the convention hall, the face value might have been like $50.
Yeah. And
Chip's like, can you get me back the 50? He just get me back 50 or 75 each. She's like, give me 4 seats. Now you gotta understand, these seats are marked like section 50. The convention center had small, but like floor level, first level, second level, third level. I went there to some wrestling.
Yeah.
And they had like up to like 5 levels. So Chip's giving her like section 528.
Oh my God.
Row double B, which is not the, you think, well, it's the second row of the balcony. It's not that bad. It's the lead. It went from A to Z, right?
And then double.
So she runs in back. She said, I pray that the Chinaman, that's what she said.
Oh my goodness.
I pray the Chinaman's still at the table. I said, I thought you said he was Japanese. She goes, what difference does it make?
Oh my goodness.
I just pray he
you
at
guys
the
were
table.
bad.
I pray he at the table.
Bad Momma Pretzel.
I
Bad
know.
Momma Pretzel.
There he is. I run up to him. I go, look, honey, I'd give you better. Second throw. See, B.
No.
And the guy's looking at me, well, what's this 528? And he's like, because that's how they mark floor. Center floor. B. So the guy takes, he had quarter chips, 100 chips, 500 chips, and those big 1,000, those larger chips.
I've never even seen one
right,
of those.
They're larger. He takes 6 $1,000 chips, hands them to Momma Pretzel, and then he takes a $500 chip and says, here, I thank you very much.
Oh, so she left with the profit.
She left. So now she's back up to 6,500. She goes out. She cashes the $500 chip.
Okay.
She goes back to Chip. Mm-hmm. And instead of giving him 70, she goes, the guy didn't want to pay. He goes, well, give me 50 each.
Wow.
So I said, well, then what happened? She's like, well, I'm crazy. I should have worked the show. I should have just worked the Rolling Stones show. Probably could have made an extra $2,000-$3,000.
Yeah.
Turned out that night it was good, but no, I sick. I just gamble.
Oh.
And she went through the money.
Oh.
And she says, and Carrie, in the end, I have $20. I can only eat at McDonald's.
Oh.
And she basically had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
She was hospitalized. The gambling did her in. She's got another classic story. It was a Tyson fight. Was it a Tyson fight? What years did Tyson have the belt?
He 86 through 90. Lost in 90 to.
There was a Tyson fight.
Yep.
In the same. This happened maybe before this.
Another thing I regret. My grandfather was there for most of them in Atlantic City, but please go ahead.
So she says, the fights, that was the end of that story, but there's another story where she says, I'm hustling the Tyson fight. I make some money. Maybe I make $800-900. Now, the fight go on, the fight, the show, the cards start at 7:30, but now the main events go on at midnight.
Yeah.
Back then they went on like 10:30.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she goes, all the other hustlers, everyone gone. Guy come out of Trump Plaza, drunk. They give comps out. He's got 4 tickets. And they were ringside, like
Holy
fifth row.
Crap.
And it says comp. And but it's like 10:15. Mm-hmm. Are there going to be any more buyers at all?
Well.
So she says to the guy, what do you want for him? The guy goes, give me $100. So she goes, for all of them? She goes, no, 100 each. So she was a gambler.
Yeah.
She bought them for 100 each. Now 4 other guys come stumbling down the boardwalk. She tells them, look, for once she didn't have to lie. These are fifth row ringside. They're like, oh, come on. She goes, give me 1,000 each. Mm-hmm. Now these guys are gambling. They got money. They were high rolling guys. They pay the 1,000 each.
Wow.
They go through the turnstile. They get in. Guess what? I don't know what fight it was, but there was a knockout in the first minute of the first round.
Was the thrill of Tyson.
These guys didn't even get to their seats yet. She goes, I run down to Caesars. So yeah.
Wow.
She was something. She is something. I hope Momma Pretzel's doing well.
Yeah.
I'm sure when this pandemic is over and Broadway is back, I hope to see Momma Pretzel back out there with my other friends that were still hustling the streets. But for tonight, we'll dedicate this show to Momma Pretzel,
There you go.
Natasha, Samira, one of the greats.
It brings to mind the great Bob Dylan song, Mama, You've Been on My Mind.
Very good. And now, what about your uncle in Atlantic City?
Oh, my grandfather.
Your grandfather.
My grandfather. He was a bit of a gambler, and he had worked for DuPont and NASA. Super smart guy. He was an engineer. He did all kinds of design, engineer, high-rolling stuff. Was always a contractor. Number one, he didn't pay his taxes. That caught up to him. He had a couple houses and boats and things. Yeah, they repossessed. And my mom relived some of the traumatic experiences associated with that. Number two, he loved to go to Atlantic City. He went down, just about every weekend, it felt like. And he was a high roller enough that he would get comped to these fights. And he would tell my brother and me these stories about, I was seeing Tyson the minute he broke in 86, 87, when he fought Larry Holmes. He was there when he fought, and he'd go to Vegas, and he'd go. I forget if Vegas was.
Yeah, it probably was. If you were spending enough money, they'd fly you out and give you tickets and everything else.
Yeah, and so he has the distinction of seeing. He probably saw. He estimated the first 20 Mike Tyson fights.
Is he alive?
No, he passed away in 2010.
Now there's a man that would have some stories.
Yeah, he's the same guy that served in the military, taught people how to jump out of planes, and met Bob Buell and played a little bit of baseball and led a really interesting life. But unfortunately, he used these brain power for some not so good things in the same way Momma Pretzel did. But he raised a good daughter who's my mom. So, but yeah, I miss him, and I think about the missed opportunities a lot to be able to.
Same as I was talking a couple podcasts ago about Aunt Betty and Uncle Nat, who had the shoe store.
Yeah.
When Nat was trying to shove the woman who was a size 8, and he only had size 6 or size 11. Hey, Uncle Nat, how are you going to sell her? You're going to watch me. And shove those, take that giant shoe stretcher out. Well, when Atlantic City opened for Betty and Nat, my father's sister, Betty, they got caught up in, they didn't have big money.
Yeah.
But when they sold their store and eventually they had to sell their house, it doesn't matter, it just, it might have been a couple hundred, maybe $300,000, but that was a lot of money in 1977.
Yeah.
And
they were there at the resort, Smurf Griffin.
Right.
Wow.
Right. I went to resorts. I remember.
Really?
I remember the first time.
Fell down the stairs there at my bachelor party. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, when resorts opened, that was the first casino. And we didn't know shit from Shinola.
Right. I've heard.
You know what Shinola is?
No, but I've heard you say that expression.
It's shoe polish.
Okay.
Brown shoe polish.
There you go.
So that was the,
Yeah.
Or Jim Cornette. He doesn't listen to us, but he'd say, I didn't shit from apple butter, shit
There
from
you go.
Shinola. But resorts opened up, and we were 21. We're going to go down to resorts and gamble. And the first time we went there, we go to the door, and they're like, do you need a sport coat, sir? And we don't, we're dressed like this. And but everyone got a sport coat. They would give you one.
Oh.
They did that at restaurants, too.
Really?
So, yeah, everyone, they put a sport coat on you. And then we just wanted to see the lay of the land and put a few dollars in some slot machines or maybe play a game of blackjack or something. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. But I remember when Resorts was the first casino, and Atlantic City was trying. Did you ever see the movie with Burt Lancaster? It's not. It is Burt Lancaster. The Atlantic City movie?
No.
Yeah,
like that.
It's a good period piece about when Atlantic City first opened up. And I'm pretty sure it's Burt Lancaster. He just plays an old 2-bit hustler who comes across finally what he thinks is the right deal. And it's in that time. But it was that era. And I was in the era when the big attraction in Atlantic City was the diving horse on the Steel Pier.
Right.
I got to see the diving horse.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. You've seen the Boardwalk Empire show?
Yes.
So, Atlantic City had a heyday in the 20s and 30s and 40s. My parents celebrated their honeymoon in Atlantic City.
Wow.
It still had some prestige, but like a lot of the big cities, it went down. And what I was going to say was, with all the money they put into Atlantic City, and you've been down there, they never fixed up that Pacific Avenue and Atlantic. The one, like if you walk out the back door of Trump's,
it's not,
or the back door of Caesars, it's not a good thing.
No, it's not well lit, number one. Number two, when things aren't well lit,
right,
tends to attract folks that want to take advantage of that situation. But I'll have to check that out. And I
put your makeup on, fix your hair up pretty, and meet me tonight in Atlantic City.
Oh, well, they blew up the Chicken Man in Philly last night. I don't know if you heard that, but wow, this was a fun one. We hailed Momma Pretzel on this episode of Last Stop Penn Station. Yeah,
good luck, Momma Pretzel, and happy holidays, everybody. We'll be back at you before Christmas.
Yeah,
and we'll be talking about Final Battle.
We'll be talking about Final Battle. That'll be next week. I can't believe that's already on the docket. So if you're not already, $9.99 Honor Club membership. It's free. Or it's free with the Honor Club membership. Sign up right now. We love our friends at Fight, but the cheapest route right now is to get the Honor Club membership.
Right.
So do that. You can stream it. You can push it to your TV. You can watch it on your PlayStation, on your Xbox. If you got the PS5, like I don't right now, you
don't need it.
I don't. I got too many gadgets.
Well, we want to thank our good friend AJ from Basan Creative for all the help he gives us, and our friend Eric Nordrum from Discover Pro Wrestling, who helps me with some notes and some other important items. And we like to thank everyone who enjoys these shows, because we love doing them. And you want to hear about some characters, listen to our show. You're not going to hear about people like Perry the Computer.
No, it's the only place. The exclusive.
John the Greek.
Well, you might hear about a different John the Greek.
Right.
But the John the Greek.
Thousands of them.
Right. So we enjoyed talking with you this week. For Carrie, I'm Ian. For AJ, Lamb Chop. For Uncle Gunny, we'll see you next week on Last Stop Penn Station.
For listening to Last Stop Penn Station podcast. Rate, review, like, subscribe, and share on your favorite platform. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or at laststoppennstation.com.